Like stars last 1 billion years. So make it out of star stuff. Okay, fine. The building is immortal. Now the second problem is buildings are prone to damage. If there's a hurricane, or if there's an earthquake, or if someone drives a truck into it, or if someone sets a bomb off in it, or if it gets rained on and the water runs into cracks in the buildings and the water expands and the building facade decays and it crumbles. So I say to the genie, make it indestructible. No problem. When I made it immortal, I also made it indestructible, right? So it doesn't matter how often it gets rained on, and if it gets struck by lightning or rained on or crashed into it or exploded, it's not going anywhere. Okay, indestructible, immortal building. Okay, remember the building was worth $2 million, 100 Bitcoin. Well, is the building that's indestructible and immortal worth more or less now? Right? A little bit more, right? Maybe a lot more. You could say, well, I got to discount it for the cash flows that you're going to generate in years 100 to 10,000, right? But generally, a building that will last forever, that you can't destroy, is more valuable. Now the issue is the building has maintenance fees. In Florida, the property tax on a building that's held as a residence is 200 basis points a year. 10 million, the $10 million building costs you 200,000 a year to hold it. That's another form of maintenance. So I say to the genie, well, make the property tax go away. Well, how do we do that? Well, we move it out of space. It's not in a city. It's not in a country. It's in cyberspace. So in cyberspace, there's no property tax. If I could move the building, into orbit around Jupiter, there'd be no property tax, right? Move the building. So now I've got an indestructible, immortal, maintenance-free building with no property tax. It's getting a bit more valuable. Now, what's your next wish? Well, the building is sitting in California and nobody wants to rent the building in California, but all the customers are in New York City. So I blink and the building is teleported to New York City. Great. Well, now they want the building in Tokyo during the Tokyo Olympics. So I blink and the building is there. So I say to the genie, well, make the building teleportable. If I can instantly teleport the building anywhere, that would be better building. Okay. I've just upgraded the property a bit more. Now, what impairs the value of the building? Well, a limitation on who you can rent it to, right? So when I can teleport the building, then I can move it to any city or any place where there are people and I can rent it to them. But the other problem is you can only rent a building maybe by the month, maybe by the year, maybe by the decade. What if I could subdivide the building into 4 pieces and ship it to 4 different cities and sell it to the highest bidder? The ability to freely subdivide and recombine the property at any frequency makes the property more valuable. Here's the trick, convert the building into a hotel, divide it into 100 rooms, and then make it into 30 suites, and then rent the suites for 30 hours each, and then recombine it into one big banquet hall, and then convert it back into a warehouse. And what you're doing is you're morphing the building day by day, place by place, to maximize the rents. Now you look at it like that, you say, well, that building I started with doesn't feel that good. It was static, it couldn't move, it couldn't reconfigure. This one sounds much better, a flexible building. So then my issue is, well, it's only a warehouse or it's only a whatever. I want to use it for anything. So if the genie basically cast a spell and allowed me to convert the building into a school or into a sports stadium or into a hotel, and I could develop, a 1,000-story building on it. Well, my development rights are worth a lot. In fact, in New York City, oftentimes you see these people that operated parking lots and they sold their air rights, the rights to build above the parking lot, to the hotel or the commercial office building to their left or their right. And, the air rights might be worth $10 million or $20 million. The parking lot's never going to generate $20 million, but the right to develop is. So my property would be a lot more valuable if I had the right to develop it. Now, who controls that right? Well, It's your neighborhood, your precinct, your city, your state controls your right. But if I had property in cyberspace, I would have no limitations on my ability to develop it. Maybe it will take you 30 years. Maybe you will die and you will pass the rights to the development of the land to your heir. And in 30 years, someone in your family will actually develop that property or develop that right, and they'll make a lot of money, right? Do those property rights have value? Well, ask the people that own the property rights to Michael Jackson music, right? Or the Beatles catalog, right? Or fill in the blank, right? Intellectual property rights have value over time. So will property rights. Now, the funny thing is, we talk about property rights. I just gave you property rights. How many people have managed to sell their property rights? Not often, because we never thought of them that way. So I'm making some progress in getting rid of the defects in real estate. And I think the next defect is, right now, real estate and the physical world is upgraded with tractors and machines and steel and electricity, right? And material. But what if I could upgrade the property using computer chips, right? If I look at the efficiency of a computer chip, they've improved by a factor of 1,000,000 over the past 10 to 20 years. But if I look at the efficiency of construction cranes in New York City, they have not improved by a factor of 1,000,000. So the genie gives me privacy to my property, and they upgrade the value of the property. What would you rather have? The skyscraper in the middle of the capital of a hostile nation state, or the equivalent skyscraper somewhere in the ether that's just as useful to you, right? You know, the mythical Brigadoon, right? The magic city, the emerald city, over the horizon, over the rainbow. It's good for you. You know, we have other phrases for those. Sometimes we call it heaven, right? Sometimes we call it paradise, right? You know, and so that's what private property really means. Now, we haven't gotten rid of all the deficiencies in property. For example, if you want to buy a piece of real estate or sell a piece of real estate, if it's residential, it costs you 6% coming and going. A $2 million residential real estate is $120,000 of fees to buy it, $120,000 of fees to sell it. Heck, you turn it over once and you paid 12% of the value of the thing. With commercial real estate, the fees are a bit lower, but they're still percentage points, 1-2% or something like that. So I think I'd ask the genie to allow me to buy and sell the property at no fee, or 5 basis points. Make it possible to transfer it at 0. You can transfer Bitcoin, on chain or on the Lightning chain at numbers that are either, anywhere from 10 basis points to 1 basis point.